The Orville Season 3 New Horizons was one of the best television seasons in recent memory. The newly homed Hulu show blasted off with 10 good to great to even excellent hours of television and surpassed my expectations. As the show's fourth season hangs in the balance, I want to go over what worked so well in the season. The show went on a hiatus from Season 2 to Season 3 as it jumped from the Fox network to the Fox-owned, now Disney-owned Hulu with a massive 3-year plus wait. Despite consistent viewership for Fox at around 3 million viewers, the show was moved to Hulu and its episode count was cut down to 10. Thankfully, the show wasted no time blasting away with a riveting first episode that brought us back to the heart of what worked so well in the second season, the Kaylon conflict. Season 3 didn't hold anything back on going after difficult subject material. The first episode, Electric Sheep, went right after guilt and, surprisingly, suicide.
Why the hell would he do that?
Captain, Isaac committed suicide.
The episode, written and directed by Seth McFarlane, featured the new character of Ensign Burke and her dilemma with the Kaylon.
Yeah, there is. You acknowledge that he's there and you stay angry.
Ensign Burke lost her friend Amanda, as we soon found out was a bit more than just a friend, and largely blamed any Kaylon in sight, and oh look, we have a Kaylon in Isaac. Isaac in a form finds a way of dealing with the guilt and really his poor processing of it by basically zapping himself to death. The whole episode was completely jarring to what I expected, but would set the ground rules for anything can go in the season.
Suicide is pointless, so we try to fill in the blanks.
While Isaac has demonstrated throughout the entire show his inability to comprehend or express emotion, we see a bits of it, like this action here, that sometimes counters that argument. The writing remains so good, and even though fans of the show had issues with this dark episode, I really liked what Seth managed to pull off. Throughout the season, we see tons of mirrors, head nods, and wink winks to everyone's beloved Star Trek former. It comes as no surprise to see that Braga had a huge hand in writing the season, including some of the best episodes, in particular the penultimate episode, Domino. Season 2 provided a big shift of the show in terms of tone. The show was once lighthearted and at times a bit too lighthearted and goofy. Season 2 would create the Kaylon conflict, and Season 3 would establish that more with diving deeper into the division between various cultures like the Moclan and Krill. The doom and gloom, militaristic feel of Krill with its use of fake propaganda to push political means was a clever nod to what is going on in our world today. What made the Krill conflict in those episodes so powerful was the ability to connect a past connection with Seth MacFarlane's Ed Mercer and former military soldier and now newly appointed Supreme Chancellor Teleya. It is soon revealed that the two's relationship created a child, one of mixed relations and one that could unite the warring factions.
What is it the Ancana teaches? With every child, a new world is born.
The writing here was clever to not only create a personal connection between these characters,
Living proof of that. We created a life together to Well, then what did you have her for?
but also trying to set an allegory for day-to-day politics we see in our own lives. The episode, Gently Falling Rain, like most of the episodes in the season, has a surprisingly bittersweet ending to it. Surprisingly, in some of my past videos, a lot of people have had problems with the Moclan-driven storylines, prominently the Tale of Two Topas episode. Here, the Moclan stand by the fact that Topa isn't allowed by their society as she is a Moclan female, not a male.
It is immoral, and it is illegal.
Unmockless.
A lot of people had issues with the Union standing by their beliefs and customs, while enforcing the Moclans live by theirs. This definitely created a moral dilemma in the show that I think some people weren't exactly buying into. While the Union in some ways was presented as the right way, and for the most part, it really was with actions expressed by Commander Grayson, I don't feel it was presented as the only way.
You seem to think that your personal judgment is more sound than the judgment of the entire Union Council. That is a staggeringly arrogant point of view, wouldn't you say?
Unfortunately, this thought does go a bit out the window as the Moclans are then introduced as the villains near the end of the season and band together with the Krill.
You are butchers, and you must answer for your crimes.
So, I guess my point is completely lost here, but whatever.
I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a fucking idiot.
Throughout the season, I had an issue with Ensign Burke, played by Ann Winters. I just found her character to be a bit one note, constantly harping on the issues of the Kalon.
This town will not accommodate the numerical totality of our combined mass.
Well, it was fun while it lasted. We have to work together. Every day. But that doesn't change what you did.
What I didn't expect was episode 9, entitled Domino. I went into this in detail with the episode review, but her arc was actually extremely good. Not only did she save someone she didn't care for in the first episode with Isaac, but she saved the whole damn race, and in doing so, would unite the Kalons and the Union together. That's one hell of an arc for a character I really didn't give a shit about. I will say I was a bit surprised, despite having some pull in some of the important storylines, that Ed Mercer, played by show creator Seth McFarlane, felt like he was taking a step back in the action. A lot of focus went on other supporting characters, like Isaac, Bortus, or even Commander Grayson. Ed still had some great scenes, including one of my favorite lines of dialogue thrown towards Ensign Burke.
I'm really sorry that you did, and I'm sorry that I did, but this thing you do where you act like you have some kind of a monopoly on grief is starting to wear a little thin.
If this is a sign of Ed potentially pulling away, it was pretty obvious as his time on screen felt a bit down compared to prior seasons. If I was to name one episode that maybe didn't land for me as well as it should have, I'd probably say that was episode 3, Morality Paradox. It felt very much like a Star Trek episode.
Which means that even if this is a hallucination, we can be hurt.
Each character was thrown into this different scenario, which was a near-death experience. This episode is another throwback to the episode where Kelly had inadvertently created a religion, but since then, time has passed some 50,000 years for those people. The people have achieved immortality and thus have become complacent with their own lives.
Immortality has its rewards, but after a while, the drive to advance begins to atrophy.
Overall, the episode was fine and not bad by any means. It just didn't feel as purposeful as some of the other episodes in the season. If you had an episode you really didn't gel with, let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear what you didn't like or maybe weren't really too crazy about. Lastly, the action sequences and stakes throughout the season were mind-blowing. The Orville might not win any awards for special effects, but what they do pull off in this season is pretty astounding. A lot of shots are really impressive, and some are quite clever nods to things like Star Wars or even Star Trek. A lot of time and money went into building these glorious sets or establishing these wonderful worlds. So I gotta give my hats off to the wonderful production designers and everybody that worked so hard to make this show really feel living. Season 4 hangs in the balance for the Orville. Honestly, this is extremely disappointing. Season 3 is probably the best of the 3 seasons thus far. Each season has progressively gotten better, and that's just a tribute to building onto these great characters, these unique cultures, and society stories. Seth has done a great job of sculpting this love letter to his beloved Star Trek. I just hope it gets another season. If you want to hear me talk more about the Orville, click on this video here, and I'll see you on the next one.